Rain lashed against the glass walls of Rindle Manufacturing Plant, a sprawling tech facility on the outskirts of Atlanta. Inside, the atmosphere was suffocating. Machines that once hummed in perfect rhythm now stood still. Conveyor belts frozen, robotic arms stiff mid-motion, red warning lights blinking like heart monitors on flatline. 20 engineers in bright yellow vests huddled around the main control unit. Sweat glistened on their foreheads despite the air conditioning. The factory supervisor barked into his walkie-talkie, voice cracking from tension. Every minute this line is down costs us $10,000. Somebody fix it. In the middle of this chaos, Marcus Hill, a delivery driver in a faded blue uniform, wheeled in a crate marked industrial components. Urgent. He paused near the door, watching the frantic scene unfold. The flicker of red light reflected in his calm brown eyes. "Hey, delivery's here," he called softly. No one answered. The engineers were too busy arguing about voltage levels and software diagnostics to even look his way. Marcus set the box down, but curiosity made him linger. He tilted his head slightly, catching the faint, rhythmic beep-beep-beep from the control unit. Something about it didn't sound right. And that's when he noticed it. A tiny servo calibration error flashing on a secondary screen, ignored by everyone else. He frowned. "Looks like a feedback loop," he murmured. A voice snapped from across the floor. "We've got it handled, driver. Just leave the part and sign out." Laughter rippled. To them, he was invisible. But they were about to learn. Some minds don't need titles to prove brilliance. Marcus Hill had once been an automation technician, one of the best at a smaller plant across town. But when his company downsized during the pandemic, he'd lost everything overnight. His degree didn't matter. His years of experience didn't matter. He took the first steady job he could find, delivering industrial parts to the same kinds of companies he used to help design. Now he drove a rusting van, wearing a name patch that read Hill Logistics. Every delivery reminded him of who he used to be and who he wasn't anymore. Today, he was just supposed to drop off a part and leave. But something about this particular factory, the flashing code, the wrong sound of a servo alarm, scratched at his instincts. He quietly observed the control panels from afar. The engineers kept rebooting systems, frustrated. Voltage spike. "No, PLC isn't responding. Check the relay line." "I already did." Marcus knew that tone, panic disguised as arrogance. He'd heard it from supervisors when deadlines crushed logic. Then a younger voice cut through the chaos. Laura, a junior engineer barely in her 20s, holding a schematic tablet. "Sir, the sensor feedback loop." "Laura," interrupted Chief Engineer Thompson, his voice dripping with frustration, "we've been through this. It's a software issue, not hardware." Marcus bit his lip. He knew she was right. He'd seen that loop error before, years ago, but saying anything now would only get him more mockery. So he stayed silent. For the moment, minutes stretched into hours. The smell of overheating circuits filled the air. Workers leaned against railings, defeated. The factory's entire production schedule was collapsing. Finally, Laura walked toward Marcus, her eyes apologetic. "You can leave your crate there. Sorry you had to see this." Marcus gave a small shrug. "You ever notice that red light blinking twice fast, once slow?" Laura blinked. "Yeah, that's the loop I mentioned. No one listens." He smiled faintly. "Mind if I take a look? Just for fun." She hesitated. "You're a delivery guy. Used to be a tech. Not anymore." His eyes were kind, but firm. "Sometimes you don't stop seeing things." Laura looked around. Thompson was busy shouting at a laptop. She sighed. "Fine. 5 minutes." Marcus crouched beside the main control panel. His hands moved with confidence, careful, precise. He wasn't guessing. He was diagnosing. He pulled a small screwdriver from his pocket. Not company issue, just his own. He traced the wiring to a grounding unit, then followed the circuit to a sensor hub buried behind a mess of cables. "Who installed this servo?" he asked quietly. Laura frowned. "We outsourced last month." "Yeah, figured." Wrong polarity on the feedback link. He unplugged a connector, reversed a lead, and rebooted the control sequence. The system blinked, then powered down completely. Laura's heart stopped. "Wait, what did you?" Then, like a deep inhale after drowning, the machine whirred back to life. Lights turned green. Motors hummed. Conveyor belts moved. Robotic arms unfroze. Every head turned. The factory filled with stunned silence. Marcus stood, wiping his hands on his uniform. "There you go." Chief Engineer Thompson stormed over. "What did you touch?" Marcus didn't flinch. "Your failsafe logic loop was reversed. The system thought it was overheating, so it kept shutting itself off." Thompson stared at the now-running line. Perfect motion, no errors. "You're saying we spent 18 hours chasing a ghost loop?" Marcus gave a single nod. "Pretty much." Laughter broke from the supervisor's throat, half relieved, half amazed. "Who the hell are you, man?" "Delivery driver," Marcus said simply, lifting his crate. Laura smiled. "Not just that, apparently." Thompson's face softened. For the first time that day, his pride cracked. "Used to be an engineer?" "Used to be," Marcus replied. "Before layoffs." Thompson hesitated, then said quietly, "You still are. Title or not." The team watched him go, their silence turning into quiet respect. For the first time, Marcus didn't feel invisible. Later that evening, Marcus sat in his van outside the plant, rain tapping against the windshield. He looked at the time card on his dashboard, the same route he'd follow tomorrow. But tonight, something felt different. His phone buzzed, a message from Laura. "Chief wants your number. He said we could use someone like you, not for deliveries." Marcus smiled faintly, eyes stinging. He looked at his reflection in the rearview mirror, tired, worn, but proud. Sometimes life takes away your title to remind you who you are. And sometimes, the ones who look least important are the ones who keep the world running. He started the van, the hum of the engine blending with the rhythmic sounds of machines roaring back to life inside the factory. Never underestimate quiet brilliance. It doesn't need a title to change the world.